board to order. If I can get my voice back. We'll start with roll call.
Thank you. I'll start with roll call. Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Gaffitti,
Yes.
Board Member Richards,
Present.
Board Member Rolfe.
Yes.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Sherry. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for general public comment. However, if anyone wishes to make a general public comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so. I will turn my attention to virtual attendance, and I do not see any hands raised virtually for general public comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Sherry.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the Single Family Design Board meeting at February 9th. Full board. Is that it? Is that the end?
No, I was just popping it.
Did you have a comment?
No, Can you scroll up for a second, actually? I just wanted to make sure there was one thing. Okay, study the overhangs and the eaves. Okay.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, that was like.
And this amended motion was when we changed it to continue to consent. I think we
Right.
forgot to include that. So the rest of the language here is exactly the same.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the Single Family Design Board meeting of February 9th.
All second.
Okay, we will take a vote. Board Member Rolfe,
Yes.
Board Member Richards,
Yes.
Board Member Gaffitti,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Chair Sherry.
Abstain. I had an item on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, item B, approval of the minutes of the Single Family Design Board meeting of, consent meeting of February 9th.
And I believe this was Chair Sherry and Board Member Rolfe. Yeah.
I've reviewed that, actually.
Yeah.
Can keep going. Is that it? I think that's it.
I believe so. It's only that
Okay.
item.
I'll make a motion for approval of those minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll take roll. Board Member Richards,
Yes.
Board Member Gaffitti,
Yes.
Board Member Rolfe,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Chair Sherry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ratification of action taken on the consent calendar, February 23rd.
Great. Thank you. We only had 2 items at consent earlier today. 1106 Crestline Drive and 526 Sea Ranch Drive.
Actually, it was just one. The 1106 Crestline was canceled.
Yes, so item A, 1106 Crestline Drive, was postponed indefinitely by applicant request. And for the second item, 526 Sea Ranch Drive, it was continued indefinitely with comments.
Okay. We need to make a motion for the ratification.
Correct, yeah, so we need a motion for ratification of just the actions.
Anyone?
I'll make a motion to ratify the action taken on the consent calendar of February 23rd.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Board Member Graffitti?
Yes.
Board Member Rolfe?
Yes.
Board Member Richards?
Yes.
Chair Sherry?
Yes.
Vice Chair Moslehy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 143 San Rafael. This is a proposal for demolition of the existing home and a new 3,234 square foot, 2-story, single-family residence with a 317 square foot JADU, a new driveway, and landscape improvements. The JADU is not under the purview of the board. The total proposed 3,234 square feet on an 8,139 square foot lot is 100% of the maximum required floor area ratio.
And before we start, the case planner had some project comments to make as well.
Okay.
Aaron Stolberg, case planner. This project is currently incomplete. The plans to be shown today have received slight updates since the first review by staff for this conceptual hearing, but they have not yet been formally reviewed by staff. Staff is looking for broad conceptual comments to incorporate into the next round of review.
Okay. Your name for the record?
Liz Hughes with Tom Oxter Architect.
Robert Richards, landscape architect. I think you guys got your names.
Oh, yeah.
That would help.
Thanks.
We need to be done.
Want to make sure we know who's who here.
Thanks for noticing.
Great. Okay. So the proposed project is a 2-story single-family residence on San Rafael. Demolition of the existing single-story residence. You can see this rendering here on the front. The way we approached the project was to break up the massing as much as we could, particularly along the street. The garage is set back about a foot from the front setback. The existing garage is actually inside the front setback, and so as a lot of residences in this neighborhood, and you kind of, when I get to the existing photos, I'll show how that garage entry is, but you kind of turn into the garage. And so we wanted to leave the curb cut in the same location to maintain this street tree here and all the planting that's existing there, while creating a better entry for this garage. So the proposed project consists of the main residence, which is 2,500 square feet, and then the ADU, which is 317 square feet, and a 400 square foot garage. So at the front of the project is where the JADU is, and I'll show you that in the floor plans when we get to it. Here are some photos of the existing residence. You can see that garage in the front setback area that's a non-compliant existing structure. And then you wrap around this driveway here to get into the garage. There are also a lot of decks along the side, and there was an addition done, so it's existing. It's kind of 2 separate levels, one with a raised foundation, and then one in the back you step down to one that's on grade. So here are those street elevations. And I also just wanted to point out that there is a gradual slope to the street towards the ocean. So in this, I'm not sure what, it's on the cross street because it's on the corner, but this property actually sits about 3 to 4 feet higher than the project lot. So here's that existing elevation and then the proposed elevation from the street. Some conceptual materials. And then we did do a 20 nearest homes study of the neighborhood. There are a few, maybe about a quarter of the houses in the vicinity are 85% and over. A few are 2-story, but the proposed project is very similar to a lot of other single-family residential projects we've been proposing in this neighborhood. So just wanted to keep the residential scale of this neighborhood by pushing back the second story as much as we could from the street. The existing, oh, this is our demolition plan. Actually, Robert, you can go ahead and present the landscape plan if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got a demolition plan that describes removing the existing paving in the front of the house, and along the north side of the property, there's a retaining wall and fence that are failing that we're planning to replace, both the wall and the fence. Then in the back of the lot, there is a configuration of 2 retaining walls that kind of create like an elevated planter that's going to be removed to just return the rear yard to being a level grade. Then along the south side of the lot, you'll notice that the fence for the neighbor jogs into the property line. So the intent is to remove the existing fence and then recapture the space that belongs to this property by putting the fence in its proper location. All the paving is being removed in the back. The only tree being removed is a small lemon tree. There's no notable trees. Then maybe go to the next sheet here. So there's existing large, what kind of trees? There's existing eucalyptus tree that's in the front parkway, and then there's 2 large trees on either lot, on either side of this property. So you have a large sycamore and a large pine tree, so it's kind of a shaded front yard. That's kind of the existing tree scenario. Then what we're proposing here is a new permeable paver driveway with a flagstone entry that goes into like a small courtyard at the front of the residence. And then on the south side, there's kind of a secondary entrance that accommodates the ADU with the stone steppers. In the rear yard, we've got similar flagstone paving with a fire pit area and a built-in hot tub. And the pool equipment is in the far corner of the lot. We're proposing some fruit trees along the south property line, 2 trees kind of along the back property line, and then some palm trees to kind of get a tropical feel around the spa. There's a built-in barbecue, and we have kind of an example of the planting that we're considering on the left plant list, and I think that's kind of the overall. The paver material that we're proposing is there on the right. And then also in the rear yard, instead of using a lawn, we were proposing kind of like a small, like drought-tolerant, walkable ground cover type space there adjacent to the fire pit. So it's kind of like a little entertainment-style rear yard.
So the sequence from the street, as you come off of the sidewalk, we have this low wall here creating this entry courtyard. And this wall is going to be about 42 inches high with this, also a low gate, and kind of like a little porch area here that's covered. This space here is the JADU. So there's a door off of the side yard, and then there's also a door connecting from the residence. It's meant to be kind of like a little granny flat type of unit here in the front. And then the primary bedroom behind on the first floor, her laundry room and other utilities, and then kind of opening up through that central access to a great room. And the outdoor space beyond that great room consists of a covered deck. And so we have the vaulted ceiling going from inside to outside to create a connection with that space. And also you can see that when you first enter the building. Our demolition plan, which I'll skip over. This project is actually kind of interesting because it does have one northerly property line, but it's facing the street. The side property line is at 39 degrees. And then it does step up quite significantly there, so wouldn't be as impactful. But when we first started designing the project, we assumed that that would be the northerly line. And so you can see on this site plan that we did push the massing of the second floor to the other side of the building. And that worked out well with the arrangement of this living space on the first floor opening up to the back, because the backyard kind of expands in that area as well. So it kind of worked out for us. Here's our floor plan, just showing the garage, entry, covered area, bedrooms along one side, and then that great room to the other side. And then going up to the second floor, where we have a loft space and then a deck facing the front. So the second floor deck is 15 feet off of this southeasterly, I guess, property line, and then set back a good distance from the street as well, since our garage is about a foot back from that, the front yard setback. So just kind of creating a little connection to the street for that upper space, so it feels a little more open. Our roof plan, the roof slope is 4 and 12, and then you can see this is the covered deck below, and then the great room that extends with that vaulted ceiling out to the back. So our front elevation showing that low landscape wall at the entry, and then the deck on the upper level that's set back 15 feet from the side property line. And then you can see on this side how we tried to keep the massing away from the other northerly property line. That covered deck in the back. And then we only have a few areas of the site that have the expression of the two-story stacked volume. And so that's along the opposite side of the building from the northerly side. There is a little bit of variation, but kind of that's the one portion where you have some stacked walls, and then the rest of it has the massing fairly well broken up along the extent. So here are a few additional views of, here's that covered deck in the backyard, and then another view back towards the house. So, oh yeah, and then the overall height of this building is about 22 feet. And so we have, let's see, a plate height on the first floor where we're stacking of 8'6", and then on our second floor we have a standard 8-foot plate height on the upper level. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. We'll move on to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Sherry. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do have a slip for public comment. I have Miss Susan McClare. If you could please approach the podium. And you will have 2 minutes to speak, Ms.
Okay,
McClare.
thank you. And understand, I don't know anything about architecture or anything, and I just saw the drawings last week. But I'm Susan McClare. I live at 139 San Rafael, which is the property on the south side of this property, the side where the massing is. I didn't know you called it that, but that's where, so the massing is going to be overlooking my house and yard. And so so overall, I object to the overall size of this property for the lot and for the neighborhood, and the amount of paving, which is like from inch to inch, in my opinion. And I really don't like the way that the south side of the house looks, where it kind of looks like an apartment building, like if condos were put together. So I don't like that. But the main reason that I wanted to talk to you is because of the south-facing fence. Are you the landscaper? Landscape architect. How do you do? Nice to meet you. Well, that actually happens to be a liquid amber tree in the front, not a sycamore. But anyway, what she mentioned about the difference in the height between the properties, there's about a 4-foot difference in height as you go down the hill toward the ocean. And so my house is about 4 feet lower than the house that's being proposed. And so to rip out the fence on the south side and replace it is not as easy as it sounds, because the fence that's currently there has been there for about 75 years because it sits up high. There's a slope there. And on my side, it's taken up by mature fruit trees and a large rainwater collection system. And if that fence were moved just 3 feet over to the south, all of that would have to be removed, which is actually fine with me if somebody else wants to do it and pay for it. But I don't want to pay for it, and I also just don't want no fence. So that's my concern, and my time is up.
Thank you, Ms. McClare. At this time, I do not have any further slips for comment. We will turn our attention to virtual attendance, and I do not see any additional hands raised virtually for comment on this project, and we did not receive any written correspondence. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Sherry.
Thank you. Okay, questions from the board. Board Member Richards.
Sure. So I guess building on the public comment, so the fencing material is going to be, is it wood? And is there sub-material for the retaining, or?
We don't have a design for that. We were hoping to come for comments on the overall building and massing, and then we would come back at the next hearing with more details about what the fencing material and landscaping would actually be.
Okay.
But I mean, right now, theoretically, we're kind of showing it as a wood material. I think, maintenance is always a potential question when it comes to wood, and so some people then prefer to go with some sort of non-reflective composite material, but that hasn't been discussed yet.
Okay, thank you. And then that low wall that wraps around the front, that's plaster coated, or is it pick up that stone material?
Again, I don't think we've necessarily discussed what
Iron
that
that
would
down.
be. I think we do have some stone accents, and I believe we are showing it as stone currently in the drawings. It's kind of a little faded out here, so I'm gonna zoom in, but I'm pretty sure the rendering does show it as stone currently, and these posts that come up also have that same stone material. And we also have that same material in the back. So it's kind of just an accent material in a few locations.
Okay. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, of course. I have 2 questions for you. One is, what is the FAR without the JDU? And I saw on your plans that for the barbecue location, I think I had like a question mark, so I was just wondering if the barbecue will stay as where it's shown.
Yeah.
So those 2.
The FAR for without the JADU is 91%.
Okay.
And I do think the barbecue ultimately will end up staying in that location. It's kind of the best spot that we found so far, but the landscape design is currently still being developed. And so a lot of this, there may be some reduction in paving, and some of those landscape elements may shift around for the next presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm going back to the public comment. Can you clarify, she mentioned 3 feet change of the location of the fence. Can you show it on the plans to us?
Yeah, so you can see on the survey and demolition plan here, the existing fence location comes well into the property boundary. We didn't have any information about what the grade is on the other side of the fence. It's probably pretty similar to what they have on the northerly side of the property, which is a CMU retaining wall with a wood fence and hedge above. So ideally, we would do some additional investigation and propose a retaining wall along that side of the property with a fence as well.
And do you have in your plant review of like arborist review, the existing plants there or no?
No, we don't have an arborist there. I don't believe it was requested as part of this. Okay.
Okay.
There's no large trees in that area. I
Okay.
think there's like a few small fruit trees.
And it is in this property?
Well,
Yeah, there are the
Those-
2 in the front
those
yard,
two.
the big ones in the front yard. The bigger ones are in the front yard.
yeah, but relative to what's in the backyard against that fence, there's no like large tree removals is what I'm identifying. I think there's like a small citrus tree up against that corner.
Let's see here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, maybe you can see a little bit of some of these smaller trees
Yes, I can see that.
along that
Yes.
property line.
And my other question is when you notice, I understand that because of the angles of that neighborhood of the properties, it's always like hard to find a north property line, and you started thinking that the property line was the north one was the other one. And when you did your solar access study, it was based on that, where your team went back and thought about the second story shifting it towards east after that, or that just like worked out and you
Yeah,
stayed
well,
there?
I think it worked out for several reasons. One was maintaining that existing curb cut there, not disrupting, the front of the property where we have meters and existing planting and trees, and kind of simplifying as much as we could. Also allowing the main portion of the living area to stay on that northerly side where the lot is wider, so that it could open up to that backyard area, rather than, once you flip this plan, it's kind of constraining some of that outdoor area on a portion of the site that doesn't have as much room.
My question is specifically about the second story, like positioning the second
We
story.
did not-
Changed it after that.
No,
Okay.
we left it where it was, because it worked out in that location. But I also just want to point out that the program on the second story in that space is just bedrooms, and so there are small windows facing that property line.
Thank you, that was all my questions.
Thank you, Board Member Friday. Questions?
Yeah, most of my questions have been answered. I was just building off of the most recent one on the second story element, closer to the southerly neighbor. Do you know and I guess our public commenter might be able to answer this too, what the program is on the other side? Is it like a bedroom? And then do you have any photos of any of those small trees or vegetation here on that fence line?
I don't have any.
I don't
We don't
think
even
so,
have-
no.
There's no access over there.
No, just I guess from your property or the proposed
Let me see
property.
what's-
Um,
I'll see what's on there.
Your site photos are-
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, we can kind of zoom in here along that fence. So you can
Okay.
see some of these
a little bit, yeah.
trees.
Okay.
And the fence is pretty dilapidated and falling down, so that was another reason why we we're proposing.
Yeah.
The leaves. It's
Oh,
like
yeah, here.
I don't know, maybe the neighbor could tell you, but it looks like there's like a couple citrus trees. Right
Okay.
No, on my side,
there.
on my side, I have an avocado, about a 20-year-old avocado and a 20-year-old four-way grafted peach tree.
Okay.
They're both pretty large. They don't look as large from your side because you're 4 feet higher.
Got it.
On my side, they're pretty big.
And then I believe this was asked, but did you consider studying at all with the second story element, like not shifting it all the way over to the north side of the property, right on the setback, but figuring out a happy medium where it comes in a little bit more off of the setbacks?
I mean, we
to the center?
minimized, or the breakup of the massing was, we really worked on around the building. And so that's the one part. And I think, structurally, it makes sense to stack some walls in certain locations. And so, no, we didn't explore setting that back.
Okay. Okay. And then, okay, you confirmed heights. Okay, great. That's it for me.
Do you want to start with comments?
Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. I'm happy to jump into comments too. I would say in general, just given, and I'm super familiar with this neighborhood, given the development in the projects that have been developed around the neighborhood and some of the ones that you've shown in the 20 closest homes, just looking at this at a high level concept, I think in general, the mass bulk and scale is in line with the neighborhood. I think it's great that from the street side and from the northerly neighbor, the second story element is brought in. It would be nice, in my opinion, to have studied to be able to bring it in from the southerly neighbor. But I do think looking at the windows and looking at the size, you don't have the entire second story along the entire first story element. But I'd like to see more photos, really, just to see what's on the other side of the fence and if that's going to have to be removed. Is there any sort of vegetation proposed on your property that may be able to provide a little bit of a buffer? I think the overall landscape plan looks really nice. It sounds like you may be tweaking, how much hardscape versus softscape, but I think in general, looks like a good plan. I think the palette looks really nice. And I think it would be a great improvement to what's there. So I'm really looking forward to this project. I would encourage the owners and the applicants to work with Ms. McClare on the southerly property line as well through the process, just in part of good neighbor guidelines and all of that. But yeah, in general, looking at, again, high-level concept, I'm in support of the mass bulk and scale. And the height. The height is really modest for a second story at just under 22 feet.
Thank you. Board Member Moslahi.
Yes, I agreed with the comments that were made. And I think comparing to the existing situation, the non-compliant garage situation, now that you are placing the garage 1 foot away from the front setback, it's helping the openness from the street view. And I think, like, looking at all the FARs in the neighborhood, with the height that is proposed, it's the bulk and scale, I think it's appropriate with a second story in the streets adjacent to this. And I would appreciate, as Board Member Graffiti was mentioning, if a screening can be studied on the southerly side so that you can coordinate with a neighbor. I totally understand the structural concerns of the way that the second story is sitting on the first story, and also it's giving the vaulted ceiling in the living area and the fireplace.
That's really what it is, because it gets pinched.
I can see it now, looking at
Yeah.
it like both side to side. I can see why you guys put it there, and you have the fireplace here. So that's the reasoning for that, and the reasoning is, I understand it totally, but if looking at it from exterior side and from the neighbor side, if we can look at some pictures, identify the existing trees that they mentioned, and see what can you do to screen it in your property and what can be done with the 4 feet, like study more with the 4 feet difference. Maybe that will be the result will be more clear to the neighbor as well. And I think in general, the material palette and the style of the house is cohesive in the level of the concept that you have, and looking forward to see the details of like how you transition that stone column or whatever material is proposed to the wood rafters. And I didn't see the material of the roof. Have you decided on? Yeah, I can see it now. Okay.
Oh, the roof, it's just a comp shingle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think in general, in a concept level, the project fits the neighborhood and the Balkan scale and the materiality. And I think as long as the concern of the neighbor is resolved, I think you guys are moving to a great path towards a successful project.
Thank you. Board Member Rolfe,
Oh, yeah.
comments?
Yeah, so I agree with all of them, and I like the overall aesthetics, and I think it fits in the neighborhood very nicely. So a few comments, and actually this is sort of a question for fellow board members. I saw, that for new construction, you said to have the garage door not face the street, but when I look at it, I think it actually looks good because it's tied into the loggia. And then I also see other homes with garage doors facing the streets, a lot of the homes there, so I think that's probably fine. But I just wanted to bring that up. Okay. And then, regarding the second floor, at first I was going to say, like, hey, can you step it back? But I see your rationale for keeping that, that area vaulted on the first level. So, screening would be great. And then just a few minor things or ideas. I noticed the columns on the first level by the JDU were stone. And then I think I saw wood columns on the second level. And I was just thinking maybe to have them be more cohesive and pick one or the other, maybe the wood. And then another thing, is the jacuzzi. I saw it's like pretty close to the property line. I think I saw shrubs, but I was just thinking about maybe the concerns of the neighbor with noise. So just one item there. And then I really, really like the exposed trusses in the backyard. And I kind of was like wondering if maybe it's a bad idea, but I just like that architecture so much. Maybe it's like replicated in the front.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
try that in the
Yeah,
front,
you did.
but it does, a gable end makes the massing
Yeah.
more prominent.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I could
I
see that.
removed that.
Yeah, you agree with that. Yeah, I think that was. Oh, I wanted to say too, on the second floor, I was wondering if there's a way to simplify the forms. So more, I don't know, just so there's like less jogs. So that's all my comments. But overall, it reads well. So.
Thank you. Board Member Richards, comments?
Yeah, I generally agree with the board in that I think it's an appropriate mass, bulk, and scale, and an all-in-all attractive project. I look forward to having you come back with maybe a little bit more study in the materials and kind of what those material details are going to be, whether it's grouted stone or not grouted stone. It'd just be nice to have clarity on that. And then I think it would also be helpful to do a cross-section, site section, so we can have a better understanding of what's going on from one property to the next. I think that might help illustrate kind of what's going on and help everybody understand.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say something about that I really like the gable in the back with the exposed truss, and I could see why you
I
did
could
that.
bring an option next time, just
I
so you guys
actually-
can see it.
I still like it. I like
Yeah.
the concept of doing that on the front. No, that was one of my questions, actually, that I didn't ask, and I was going to kind of just slip that in there as a comment, because I think there's kind of, mesa views, and it is the north, kind of the north, shadier side of the house, and then the gable might introduce some more light to that side of the house too. So I don't think the upper level columns should be wood, and I'm comfortable with, and I understand why you did wood on the upper level and not wood on the lower level, because the stone grounds it. So I, for one, am support of the two different types of materiality in the columns. But that's why we have 5 people on the board, because everybody doesn't always agree. I think that from the neighbors' comments, I think it's always, it's never great when your next door neighbor decides to build a 2-story on the mesa. But the property is, subject to certain zoning ordinance requirements that you've met. The height, our charge is to look at how to minimize privacy issues and create the best privacy as possible, and the mass bulk and scale. So I think that you've done that. I think that 4-foot plus or minus level is going to really make a difference on what the neighbor sees. I'm not even sure that not doing the second story on the south would even affect, I haven't been in your kitchen, but so I don't know, but I have a feeling that the 4 feet right outside plus the fencing, I don't think anybody's going to be able to see the second story, and I actually don't think that moving it a couple feet back is going to help, and a wedding cake is sometimes not a great design anyway. So I agree with the placing and how you've done it, and you've met the zoning ordinance, and you've kept your plate heights minimal, and I don't even think that the size being reduced would necessarily have a big impact on this design of this house, honestly. So I'm okay with it. I think it's a nice design.
Oh yeah, one thing we wanted to get the board's feedback on was the story pole requirement and whether or not that could be waived.
Yeah, I don't think the board, I'm not hearing anybody concerned about the plate heights that you're proposing for the 2-story, and the way you've positioned the massing, I don't think. One thing I didn't mention is that I think it's a good thing that your house is in line with the house to the south, instead of your house looming over the backyard of the southern neighbor. So not that any of your windows are view windows on the upper level that are gonna, somebody's gonna be looking down on her yard, but I think it's a good thing that the houses are aligned in placement. So do you want me to does anybody want me to make a motion?
Yes, please. Yes,
Make
please.
it. So this would be an indefinite continuance back to, do we think it needs to go to the full board, or do we want to send this on to consent for PDA?
It's still concept.
I know. So do you want to come back to full board?
Yes.
Okay, so this is an indefinite continuance back to the full board with the following comments: that the board is generally in support of the project citing, the scale, the bulk, and the size. And the board is comfortable with the floor area ratio as presented, which includes the JADU. The board is comfortable with the proposed style and material palette, and encourages the applicant to continue refining the architectural detailing. The landscaping is appropriate and appreciated, and the board would like the landscape architect to continue studying ways to provide as much screening as possible on the south side of the residence in order to screen the 2-story massing along that elevation. And the last item would be to return with a site section that would further illustrate the grade differential between the subject parcel and the neighbor to the south. And I guess if we're supposed to make comments about any of the waived additional material that's supposed to be provided when you exceed 85%, I think the board is comfortable with not providing any of the supplemental requirements for support of that increase in floor area ratio. Do you have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we will take a vote. Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Richards,
Yes.
Board Member Rolfe,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you all.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you. And item 2, I don't think I even have, oh yeah, item 2, 45 Los Alturas Circle. This project was postponed to March 9th, 2026 at applicant's request, so it will not be opened or heard today. And with that, I'll hand it back over to you, Chair Sherry, to close the hearing.
And I will adjourn the meeting for February 23rd, Single Family Design Board. Have a nice afternoon, everyone.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you too.